Okay, so we have two questions for you today. One is, how long have you been a teacher? And one is, how confident are you teaching online? So I'm hoping you can all complete those polls and we'll see the answers very shortly. Okay, we'll just give you another few seconds just to select your option in these polls. Okay. Wow, so we have a lot of very experienced teachers on the call today. It's fantastic. And most of you seem to be growing in confidence in your online teaching. Would rate yourselves okay. A few of you not very confident at all, and I hope that this webinar helps bring a few ideas and suggestions to boost that up a bit. Okay, well, let's move on. So as this poll has sort of told us a bit, we've all had a few weeks to adjust to working and teaching from home, and we're becoming digital workers by necessity rather than by choice. Many teachers, I'm sure, are surprising themselves with how much they're accomplishing and how much they can engage their students, but others are grappling a bit with the technology or a bit overwhelmed by the sheer number of teaching tools available. This is where our colleagues and other teachers and friends in China have the benefit of greater familiarity, not just with the technology platforms themselves, but with the psychological adjustments needed to remain productive and positive during this period of adversity. And Cambridge International is here to help, of course. We have a new section on our website called Teaching and Learning When School is Closed, which you can access from our homepage. And it's a hub for free resources to help you deliver effective in teaching and learning outside the classroom, and to continue your own professional development, which is still important at this time. There are also study tips for learners and guidance to help parents in supporting their children learning at home, and lots of webinars like this one. So check that out when you have time. And we'll send you a link to those resources after this webinar. So it now gives me pleasure to welcome our first guest, who's going to share his experiences of teaching online. So we move to Babis Yorkinakis, a Greek national who's taught physics for 25 years. In 2015, he moved from Greece to China, joining Chengdung Shishi A-Level Center, where he was head of the science department. He's now the center principal of Zhangjiagang Ivy Experimental High School, and he also teaches IGCSE physics. So Babis, thank you so much for joining us today. Over to you. I'm hoping you can share your screen.
Okay, I will try to share my screen. Okay, hello everyone, hello world. I was going to say hello Europe, good afternoon Europe, but I saw South America, North America, Asia, Africa, so hello world. I'm Babis. Thank you Zoe for introducing me. So Zoe said most of my introduction page here. Yeah, I'm Babis, I'm from Greece. And the last 5 years I am in China, and the last year I am a center principal and a Cambridge trainer and an assessment specialist. So I'm going to share with you in a few minutes my recent experience in teaching and organizing the online classes. So the contents of my presentation will be why online, how online, what were the advantages and some disadvantages that we experienced during our classes, what resources we used, and some conclusions. Before I continue my presentation, I want to say the good news, the optimist message that it is this week, it is the second week that we already opened our school. So we stopped our online lessons 2 weeks ago. Why online? Those are some numbers that I got from UNESCO website, and I was also impressed. Almost 9 days before, you see 91.3 of total students all over the world have their schools closed. And totally 138 countries face this problem. So there is no other way but online teaching. And if you see the map, you can see that only a few countries with the white collar all around the world have still schools open. In China, there are partially some province open their schools, but some others have still schools closed. Please look at this date. This date, 16th of February, is a very critical date because it was the day that in China the online teaching started. So what did we do? The schools were already closed because it was the holiday for the Chinese New Year. So most of us were in our countries. I was in Greece. And on the 10th of February, we got an email saying that the school will not open. So we need to start teaching online. And in 1 week, we had to choose which platform was the most suitable. So we chose Zoom, the platform that we are using now. I had to prepare a new timetable, totally new, with 5 lessons per day, because the government, the Chinese government, didn't allow more. We also added 2 question and answer sessions per day. We merged our classes as we had the chance to have up to 100 students per class. And then we had to train our staff. We had to train the teachers. So we sent some instructions using, again, emails, and also we practiced using the Zoom as a group and individually. So 1 week later, we started. However, we faced some problems this first week of preparation. And the most important problem was the lack of confidence from the staff. It was something new, so it was a fear. And especially experienced teachers, my age and more than 20 or 25 years in teaching, as I saw between our group now, they have a technophobia. Not all of them feel very confident with technology. Also, there were teachers in quarantine. And you know better than me now that this is not the best condition of psychological reasons, more of mood to start something new and to be excited about what you are doing. When you are in quarantine and you worry about your health and your beloved the people's health, it's so difficult to start something new. Another problem that I faced was that I had teachers in different time zones, as it's happening now. So I had teachers in Africa, I had teachers in Europe, I had teachers in Canada, in America. So when I made the timetable, that was quite tricky to make it work. Some of the students were new students for the teachers because, as I said before, we had to merge the classes. And the last one is quite important because most of the students and some of the teachers had the course books in the school, but the school was locked. So it was another difficult condition that we had to face. So we had to use some resources that we could find online. And at that point, the Cambridge School Support Hub was the most supportive and helpful resource that we used. Apart the past papers and the mark schemes that we are always using, also when our schools are open, Cambridge offered us for free TestMaker, those extra services, and Resource Plus. That was very, very, very helpful because with TestMaker we could make some worksheets, and with Resource Plus we could give the students a chance to watch some videos or some digital laboratories to make the lessons more interactive. All the updates about COVID-19 and about the schools openings were also a very useful resource. But also in that website, there were some soft copies of course books. So it helped us to face the problem that I mentioned before. We also used some alternative resources like our PPTs, our PowerPoint presentations, some videos that we could make at home, or making an experiment, for example, in science. or also videos that we found ready. Those websites, Fed Colorado for Science was really useful. I guess that most of you, if you're science teachers, you use it when our schools are open, and now more. And this is a website from my country, again, about science. Even if you cannot understand the Greek language, you can see some very good simulations there and use them. Kahoot helped us to create some quizzes and make, again, the lessons more interactive. And when we wanted to share with the students some material, we could just send it to the group chat that you can see here and you are using already. If you just click and drop a file in the group chat, then you can share this with all the participants. So that helped a lot. This is an example of students' homework. We were asking them to complete the homework and then take a picture, take a photo with the phones, and email us those photos. So we had also the opportunity to mark the homework and give individual feedback by email to each of the students. So let's see some positive factors during these lessons. First of all, the Chinese students are very familiar with technologies and online communication. Not only the students, the whole Chinese society. That helped a lot during the quarantine. They had WeChat groups with the class teachers, with the tutors. So the Chinese class teachers were the medium to share some information between us and the students. So we were first in contact with the class teachers, and then the class teachers could spread the information to the students, like, for example, a new timetable. Also, during the lessons, the students could use smartphones and other mobile devices. You know that in schools, usually it's not allowed to use smartphones. So now we could apply some new techniques or some software, some applications that we cannot use in the class. For the teachers, was a great opportunity for professional development. Now all the teachers that used this online teaching, they developed a new skill. Maybe they will need to use it again, but anyway, they gained a great experience. The teachers also had all the time the opportunity to be in contact with the students, something that is limited when the schools are open. And also they could help in person each student, either by emailing the feedback or even having some interaction, some private conversations. However, the difficult points were that in formative assessment, we all faced a lot of problems. So we could not have the best formative assessment during the class to check the students' learning and especially understanding. And if you don't have the eye contact, you know, all of you are experienced, and you know how the question mark face is. We couldn't see the faces of the students. So we had possible misunderstandings, but also possible distractions. Now some parents come to the school and say, oh, my son, my daughter need to study more and again, because all the time that you were teaching online, my kid was sleeping or playing some games. We couldn't check it. We couldn't apply group work, especially if we had 100 students in each class. But generally, it's so difficult in online classes to have group work. And also, we couldn't apply many differentiation strategies. It was more a lecture with some interaction. The last point is the most important for me. Although the students started with excitement, after the first 3 or 4 weeks of online teaching, the curve, the graph of the excitement was similar with the graph of coronavirus. At the beginning, it was an exponential engagement and increase of excitement, and then it started dropping. The last 2 weeks, the lessons was really a torture for teachers and students. We stayed 8 and 9 weeks in online teaching, so this engagement gradually dropped. Finishing, because I want to have time to discuss with you later in the question session, I have a question that I cannot answer it so far. If online education learning is the future in education, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Instead of giving an answer, I'm giving you a few quotes just for thought from quite famous educators from all over the world and from different eras. All these opinions do not agree to an answer. So maybe there is no a yes or no answer to my question. I want to thank you so much, and I'm asking you to stay strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Babis. That was great. And a very important message there too. Okay, we're going to hand over to our second speaker. We'll pick up some more questions towards the end of the session today. I'm really pleased to introduce Erin Garnham, who is joining us from Dulwich College, Suzhou. Erin earned her MA in TESOL from Trinity Western University, British Columbia, and her PGCE from the University of Sunderland in the UK. Erin has been teaching English as an additional language in Asia since 2002. She's taught in South Korea, Vietnam, Japan, and now in China. And she's been teaching Cambridge IGCSE English as a second language since 2009. So Erin, I hope you can take control now and you can share your experiences with us, please.
Yes, thank you. All right, so first of all, good evening to everybody. It's lovely to be here talking to you and to share my experience. As I was going through this experience, I was thinking I must be taking notes because I feel like I can't be going through all of this. Stress is one word, but also learning without recording it and hopefully being able to tell it to people out there in the world. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what I call the classroom in the cloud, which is what I tried to develop with my students. And first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about our context, so who our students were and our online platform. Then I want to talk a little bit about how the planning, pacing, and organization of the teaching was affected by moving to an online space. And actually, I really should have put this first, but how online interaction and motivation were impacted and how we tried to deal with it with students and also with ourselves. And also how I dealt a little bit with feedback, and I heard Babish touch on that. And for me, it wasn't the matter of like not being able to provide feedback, but more how to manage the feedback that I wanted to give in the online learning space. So I came up with this name, the classroom in the cloud, because when I first was told that we would be moving to this model, I got quite stressed out. I didn't spend enough time trying to define to myself what the class would look like. And I think I started off on a wrong foot because I set up a lot of correspondence style tasks where I emailed out some worksheets to the students and I expected them to email them to me back. And I realized, well, you know, we weren't really having the real classroom experience after that first week. So we fortunately had the luxury of having the Teams platform already established in our school. And I had on kind of a half organized basis set up Teams with all of my classes in the first semester before we broke off for the break. And so these teams are already set up. So I was able to have all of my students in a place. And I don't know if you're familiar with Teams or not, but it has a really nice social media aspect where you can make posts and comments, you can share files, you can have a class notebook, you can also do assignments and even grades. And of course, in true teacher fashion, I was using about 20% of that functionality before we moved to online learning. And I was just using it basically as a fast way to share files with the students. And so my students, I should tell you a little bit about them. We we are in China, so we don't generally have access to YouTube or Google Docs. So we are limited in some of the tools that we've been able to use with the students, which is one of the reasons why the school has provided the Teams online learning platform. The students also experienced really slow internet speeds. Videos and live lessons were unreliable for us because of the internet speed, but also because students were in different time zones, teachers were in different time zones, unlike perhaps what's happening in Italy or in Spain, where the teachers and the students are still in their community. Because Dulwich College Suzhou is an international school, we were spread everywhere, and that complicated matters. So we had to consider aspects of asynchronous learning. So for example, I was in Canada, my students were in Asia, I was a full day behind them. So I had to think about what that was going to do to the lesson and the learning. So what I came up with was largely embedding videos, short videos, into my PowerPoints and providing activities as well. So the students could watch me present the lesson in a PowerPoint and read along with the PowerPoint, and then move on to a different task in a different space. To embed the videos, I used a free service called Screencast-O-Matic. There's probably loads of them out there. It was one that I knew how to use before we went into what I'm calling our COVID experience. And I think that's one of my fundamental takeaways, is that the best tool, there's a lot of tools out there, but the best tool is the one that you and your students already know how to use. And so if you have something that you know how that works and you're happy to use it, then that's the best tool for you. So after a couple of weeks of kind of fumbling around and really spending a lot of time with the students, we were spending way too much time trying to sort out where resources were and how to access them. We kind of fumbled our way to a proper planning guide. And so what I learned worked really well with my students was that at the beginning of the week, I'd set out a weekly schedule with what learning was planned and the style of lesson that was going to happen each particular day. And so you can see with my English, my Key Stage 3 English class, I asked them to do some reading for the first day of the week. The second day of the week, they were going to work on comprehension questions by themselves. And then the third day of the week and the fourth day of the week, I was going to put them in groups online and they were going to work together. And I tried to follow that pattern because it was one less thing for the students to worry about. And I also wanted to have enough time so that if they were doing comprehension questions on Wednesday, I didn't have to turn around and have them giving me feedback. I have to give them feedback on Thursday and Friday, because it would have been madness. I needed a couple of days to actually mark that work and get some feedback together in my head. Something else I learned that was really important was that if I was going to do videos and it wasn't going to be a live video, I should have short chunks, like a YouTube streamer video, 5 minutes. That's what you want. It's good for downloading, but it's also good for attention. And I did that by sorting out task instruction videos, teaching a concept video or a demonstration video, and a feedback video. They were all separate so that the student could find the piece that they needed, download it fairly quickly, and use it again and again without having to go through like a 70-minute lesson or something like that. This slide I wish I'd put first, because the other thing I realized from my first 2 weeks of struggle was that the most important thing that we got feedback from the students about was how they were missing their peers and how they were missing seeing their teachers. And in fact, what they really, really craved was the connection of their teacher and the connection of their peer group. So anything that I could do to boost the feeling that we were in a classroom together, even though we were apart, was really helpful. I asked my students to choose an avatar for when they were posting on our posts page, obviously an appropriate one. I worked in open-ended tasks and opportunities that everybody could post around. even for, because I work with ESL students and I have a wide range of proficiencies in my class, I wanted to have open-ended questions and personal connection tasks so that anybody with any kind of language proficiency could at least give a like a one-sentence post or something like that with confidence. And I really wanted to show them each other's work. So I tried to put into my feedback videos and my presentations snips or screenshots of what students were sending me. And I put their names next to it so they could see who was sending me what, and they could see each other's work and the quality of work that other students and the quality of effort that other students were putting in. I also found later on that I could set up chats in a chat room on Teams, a Zoom meeting, so students could do group work together. And perhaps that, because we were in smaller groups maybe than at Babish's school, it seemed to work fairly well. So this picture here shows how I would snip the students' work and put their name next to it so the other students could see what they were contributing. The text-based chats for groups really surprised me how well they worked, because I found that, like Babish, I had a drop off in interaction probably around week 3 or 4, but when I started putting them into group chats on Teams and asking them to have video calls for role plays with each other, they could set up in their own time zones. They actually motivated each other more than when I was kind of prompting them saying, hey, you haven't posted anything. I found their classmates policed them and encouraged them and got them to work much better than I could by myself. So I just simply used, I used the Teams embedded chat and stream function, but you could do it with Zoom as well, as long as the students were able to contact each other. And I was really surprised how successfully they worked and how well the students organized themselves. And it actually really motivated me to put more effort into more heart into my lessons, because I could see their faces and I could hear their language, and it made me really miss them. Finally, the pause for feedback, I said, I was finding it such a struggle in the beginning. When I was sending them work, they were sending it to me back. Normally in a classroom, you would set an activity, see how the students were doing, maybe adjust, or you're like, oh, I noticed a common problem. But when you're planning online, that process is kind of slowed down, but also sped up in between the time that you get it from the students, but the turnaround that you need to send a new lesson. So I tried to set it up so that each day, because I'm a language teacher, I could do this. Monday would be reading day, and I'd give feedback on reading the following Monday. And then the Tuesday would be reading comprehension, and I'd have a week to look at their reading comprehension answers. I also made use of a lot of general feedback, and like I said before, I included samples of the work that various students had sent me so they could see what other students are saying. Because we know in a classroom, when students have a chance to check their answers with each other first, they feel more confident about sharing their answer and they learn more. I also noticed that Teams has for final assessment, the Teams will allow you to embed your rubrics, so the feedback goes quite quickly. You can just click on your rubric categories and give written feedback as well in a box. And there's some element of copy paste that you can use to speed that up. So if you have some common comments, you can copy and paste them in there. Finally, I used a lot of peer review towards the end of our time and asked them to set up chats and email their work to each other. There's also an app that myself and my colleagues use called the Peer Grade app, which could set up a platform for students sharing writing and having 3 or 4 students read and give comments on that writing. So overall, that's a picture of the Peer Grade app there. Overall, I'd say that this process taught me a lot about my own teaching, about what was really important in the classroom, which was that the students have a chance to talk to each other and see each other's work. And I hope that something I've mentioned today helps you in your teaching. Hopefully I've said some sort of idea or some sort of tip that you can carry into your own practice.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Erin. That was a really interesting presentation. I've learned a lot. And I think that importance of letting the students interact with each other is something that I will definitely take away as a learning. So I'm going to hand over to our third and final speaker. Our third speaker is Jason Wang, and Jason is the Vice Principal of Beijing Royal School. He's been teaching international high school maths courses for the last 15 years and has written a bilingual textbook in AP Calculus for Chinese students. He's also a Cambridge trainer in China. He has many years of personal experience teaching with technology and has promoted in-school teaching technology projects as well. Beijing Royal School has smoothly delivered online teaching to over 1,000 students in the last 2 months and has received great feedback from students and parents. So Jason, could you please share with us how you have achieved this?
Hey. Hi everyone, can you hear me, Erin? It's Zoe, sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Hello everyone. So it's really a great pleasure and honor for me to have this opportunity to share some experience, or I would say lessons. Like Zoe mentioned that our school, my school, Beijing Royal School, over the past 2 months. So I am a teacher that has interest in teaching with technology, and so for the school, for the past 2 months, I and with my team, so went through all the process from like planning when we got the notice from the government that the school is not opening as scheduled, and we made a plan of 2 weeks of online teaching, and now it has been 2 months, and there is still like 2 weeks to go until our grade 10, grade 12 students to come back on campus. So I hope that I can share some practice and the lessons that we gain from this process that will help you a little bit. I will share my screens. Okay, so the first part is less is more. That this is a very, very important suggestion. I would say if there are in the participant there are some like school heads or principals, so use as less platforms or softwares as possible, because if you use too many different platforms or softwares, it would cause a lot of problems. So here is some, like we did a lot of research and comparison of like 4 weeks, and then we choose like a focused our choice into 2 different solutions. There's only one software. It's called DingTalk and Microsoft Teams. I think Teams is what the platform used by the previous speaker. So use the Teams. So for this one software solution, they has to be some like requirements. So why do I call this like one software solution? So like in online teaching, we should think about what tool we use to teach, to communicate with our students, to teach our students. I like Zoom, right? And some teacher may use other software. Another function we need to think about is communication. This is communication with the students and between teachers or colleagues with the school. And then it's collaboration. So how do we collaborate together? How we share files, how we like to work together, like Google Doc. But Google Doc is blocked in China, but we have some like alternatives we can use. And then we should this platform, this software has to be like the version in desktop, can work on desktop, can work on tablets, can work on mobile devices like phones, mobile phones, and then it has to like Windows and Mac OS. And then it has a version of Android and iOS, because we have many students, we have many teachers. So all these features, all these requirements needs to be met. And we have like DingTalk and the Microsoft Teams. So in DingTalk, in Microsoft Teams, you can use it like through the live broadcasting. or through a video conference, like what we did today, like use Zoom, the function to teach students, okay? And then Microsoft Teams has the similar functions, okay? And this is, and about the, let's take another example. Let's say if we want to teach a lesson, teach a class, we want to assign homework. Okay, we use Zoom to teach a class, and then we let our students to turn in their homework through email, and then we give feedback to them through email. This is sometimes is complicated, and if you use this like DingTalk and the Microsoft Teams, all the things can happen in this only one software. Okay, like file sharing, anything. And I would recommend another thing is about the Office 365 Education Edition, because this is totally free, and actually the Office 365 Education, this software, if you are a school or any like education institution, you can apply to Microsoft, and you can get it totally free, and it has many functions that help you with this collaboration with teaching. Like the Google Docs it's banned in China, but we have like the online docs from Microsoft Office 365, and actually you can use like class notebook, OneDrive, which is mentioned by other speakers also. Okay. And the other thing is how to better support our teachers and students. And actually, most teachers and students will need support. Well, no matter they are aware of it or not. Maybe they think they are doing okay, but actually they can do even better. Okay, so what we did is, because we are a large school, so we formed a support team consist of like people who are experts on like IT, who are experts on like teaching and learning, with some like teaching and learning software. Like I said, like the Teams, any problems with the Teams, okay, and then teaching with ICT. So some of our teachers have much experience in with the teaching with ICT, so they will be in this team as well. And then we had a special customer service representative. I called him like this, and this is only for teachers. So that if any teacher has any problems, any questions, they will come to this service representative. And as well, similarly, we have a service representative for our students. So if the students have any problems, no matter it's about technology or about the software or about anything else, they will contact the representative, and these two representatives is in the support team. In the support team, these two representatives is not like responsible to know everything, but they are take these questions back to the team, and the team together will give the response to solution to the representative, and this response, this answer will go to the teachers and the students. And then we, because this is a totally different situation for school, so we had a role transfer for some staffs. Like our colleague in our student affairs office, usually they do student discipline. Okay, now the students are not at the school, so who are you going to discipline with? So this their role changed, transferred a little bit. And the teachers or the teachers who teach classes to students, they sometimes sometimes they need help. Like what has been talked before is some students may still sleeping when it's time for class. Okay, so our colleagues from the student affairs office, they will call them, really call them and wake them up to come to classes. So the teachers will not be disrupted by these kind of things, but our colleagues will help to support this. Another point is about communication and feedback. Okay, this is quote I like very much, and I shared with the whole team very often. So listen with curiosity, speak with honesty, and act with integrity. So it's about like communication and feedback. We all we sometimes hear our students complaining about too much homework. Or we didn't take it serious as a beginning, because we all know that the students complain about this homework. But at this time, when we hear this thing, because we do like weekly survey for our students every week. So for our students, our parents, and our teachers, 3 different separate surveys, and we will look into those results and act accordingly to make improvements, to revise, to reflect on what we did right, what we did not so right. And as you can see, the satisfaction rate of online teaching and learning for our students and our parents is very high at the first week. But the rate for our teachers is not that high. It's only about like 80%, 85%. But for the 3rd week, the satisfaction rate went up a lot for our teachers, because we know that our teachers at the first 2 weeks, they need have many problems and need many support, and we did help them. And this is that's a and another thing is we should hold a regular online meeting with the students and the parents, okay, to hear their voice. And more importantly, like I think one speaker mentioned this also, is we need to pay more attention to our students' social emotional needs. They are apart from their peers and their teachers. We have these online activities, like online social activities for our students, like every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, so they can meet them, they can perform far away from in front of a camera. So this really helped. And the parents has a lot of concerns and confusion, and we had regular online meeting with our parents. We have every 2 weeks we will have a parents workshop online. And then it's about the teachers. So it's very, very important to share those like this webinar we're doing right now. It's very important because we have like 150 teachers in our school. So we will have a professional learning conference, maybe in a small group, maybe in a big group, but we have this kind of sharing and the communication and online sessions. Every teacher can sign up for this. We have a special like designated time period for this, and this really helped because as time moves on, or the students, the parents, the teachers seem to be quite happy about everything this online teaching. Okay, the last thing is some apps I want to recommend to our peers. So at the beginning, I said we should use as less platform as possible. Okay, because this is for it will cause a lot of problems if every teacher, every student are using different things. But here, I'm recommending more apps. This is not the main platform, okay, but is something that the teachers can use to make their teaching, make their communication, their assessment easier. Okay. So there are 4 quadrants. Okay, there are 4 quadrants. Like for the first one in the left up corner is about two apps that about presentation and creation. It's basically the same has the same very similar function. Like Show Me, explain everything. Like Show Me is very, very easy to use, but extremely useful to create some like videos. Okay, like to create some videos. If we are going to do some, let's say flipped classroom, you need to make a video about the teaching for the students. And Show Me it's a great app to use. It's like if you spend like 2 to 5 minutes, you will know how to use it, and it makes you explain your instruction just as freely as like you are doing on a paper, doing on in the classroom. well, explain everything is a little bit more complicated, and you need to use some function. Maybe you need to pay for it. But these two apps are really good apps. And for the right up corner, it's about collaboration and feedback. So for a web whiteboard and the Padlet, it's a kind of online whiteboard. So this is extremely useful when you want to let your students to collaborate online. So you just send them a link. So when they log in, they can see there is a whiteboard there, and you can put any post-it, any notes, any ideas on the board, and everybody else can see what you put on there. Okay, this is a web whiteboard and a Padlet. The seesaw and the flipboard is about it's kind of like social media for education. So this is very helpful for some let's say arts class, maybe English class. So if you need your students to make some video, if you need or audio records, then you can use this seesaw, and they upload it, and then everybody else can see their portfolio. They can comment, and the teacher can have a interaction with the students, and the students can interact with their peers. And the Flipgrid is a similar one. Okay, a similar one is the seesaw. And I think FET about exploration. The bottom left corner is about exploration. We have math apps, math websites. It's GeoGebra and Desmos. I think many of math teachers already know it, but I think it's still worth putting them on these slides, because it's really there are a lot of useful and interesting and online activities, exploration activities for math on these two websites. And about the FET is about I think Bobby's mentioned this too. It's a very good virtual interactive experiment simulation website or apps. You can download the apps, so the students can do experiments at home. But it's online. So if you want to do some exploration, you can use this. And last corner, the bottom right, is about some AR and VR. Okay, virtual reality. One is called the GeekSpace, and one is called the Hologo. So for this, just think about if you are in a class, okay, you can make some model. You can take something into the classroom and show them to your students. But now you are not there. You are using the online. You are using the video meeting. So, but this GeekSpace, it has a very, very powerful and vivid 3D demonstration of almost all subjects areas, like from the jet engine to Earth. So you can find a lot of useful materials in this app, the same ways like Hologo. Yeah, so this is about, I guess this is, all these apps is to make your online teaching to be more effective, I would say. So to conclude my share, I would say our school, I think maybe your school will also go through these 3 different stages of online teaching. Okay, the first stage, we call it the phase 1, is you think, oh, this is online teaching, because you continue come up with the problems with maybe it's technology, maybe it's network. So, but this is the problem with the online teaching, online education. Then you go to, when you solve every problems, every questions, you move to phase 2. Okay, it's no big deal with the online education, online teaching. I just feel like the same. Like I'm very familiar with all kinds of online settings. I can teach exactly like I'm doing this. I feel like doing this teaching, online teaching, is like I'm teaching our kids in the classroom. I don't feel much difference. This is the phase 2. But we need to think about like how to make this, make the most use or utilize this online teaching opportunity, actually. That means to use the advantage of teaching our kids online. Everybody has the connection, everybody has the device. So I think it's we are now thinking about how to make differentiation, how to make a formative assessment, how to make the poll, like anything about this. Yeah, so yeah, I guess that's my part of sharing. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jason. That was really interesting. And there's so many different tools there, which I think a lot of people may have come across already, but some certainly were new to me. And I really like the structure of having some teachers in the school who've been slightly repurposed and made responsible for helping people with their technical queries and waking students up to make sure they are attending lessons. I think that's a fantastic resource to have. So we have about 5 minutes for questions, which isn't very long. What I'm going to suggest is that our 3 panelists pop their microphones back on so they can jump in. And I've had a look at some of the questions coming in, and you've been great responding to those as they've been coming in on the Q&A. But I thought we'd start with a question that's come up a few times throughout this session, which is, what do the panelists think is the best length of time for the online lesson? And how did you get the balance right between covering the material and maintaining the engagement and tension of your students? I think, Babis, you would like to answer that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I believe that any time between 40 and 60 minutes is the best. As I replied to a relevant question before, we used 60 minutes because Zoom usually is giving 40 minutes for free. But for Chinese schools, they gave 60 minutes for free, for the free version. So we used all the 60 minutes as we had less periods per day. I believe that 40 or 45 is enough. But even 60, if you give some time to the students to work or make the lesson more interactive, I think 60 minutes is the maximum. Yeah.
Okay. Erin, do you have anything to add to that?
No, just that the younger the students, the less time. So with my Key Stage 5 students, we went to 60, but with my Key Stage 3, it was much shorter. It was more like 40. But yeah, it's about the length of a normal lesson.
Okay. Jason?
Yes, we have different types of lessons. Some we call like live lessons class that is 45 minutes. So it's just like the length of regular class, but we also have like we call it offline session. It's about use the idea of a flipped classroom. So we make a video of length of like 5 to 10 minutes, and the rest of the 30 minutes, the students need to follow the requirements and explore by themselves.
Okay, thank you. We've had a few questions in as well about how you're motivating students, specifically during that class time, to keep the interaction and excitement levels high in your online lessons. So how are you making your classes interactive?
Can I start?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I tried to do the same that I'm doing in my actual class. I mean, not lecturing, but asking questions. I'm teaching using questions all the time. So now it was more difficult because, as I said before, I didn't have the eye contact with the kids. So I had to do direct questions. The problem that I faced was that I had to teach in 3 classes the same time because I said that we merged the classes. So one of them were not my students. They didn't know me, I didn't know them. So they were the most shy. And a trick that I did was to say, okay, I give you a question. You need to answer to me privately in the group chat. And I want at least 3 correct answers from each group. So the group that I didn't teach was the last to answer. So I forced them. I said, no, I'm not moving on if IG4 is not answering at least 3 correct answers. I tried to relax them. I tried to play with them. Otherwise, it would be just a lecture. Yeah. But it is not easy to motivate them. It is not easy.
I found like chats helped a lot to get, so maybe not everyone's willing to speak on camera or they might be facing difficulties, but getting answers out of people in chats. In live lessons, which I probably only actually did once a week usually because a lot of the stuff was offline. But in a live lesson, my classes are small enough so that we could have all of the names on the screen and I had them call on each other. So if we were working through a list of questions that they all had, I would have them nominate each other. So that made them be a little bit more active because they knew they had to pay attention if their name came up by surprise from one of their peers, that they'd have to be on it. They'd have to be, you know, not gaming on another screen while they were in the lesson.
I like that.
Okay,
Jason,
yeah. So for yes. So for me, I usually, because like I said, I use some software when you assign and you know, mark their homework. Like using the software I mentioned in my presentation, that we can set some students' work as model work, so everybody else can see his or her the model work. And I think this is a very good example, and to show them, and the students' work who has been chosen will feel very proud of this. And also we use some techniques like Erin used, that we use like a lucky draw to select our students to answer questions. And we use many live classes, so I require all my students to turn on their microphone. Well, it's very difficult for me to make them to turn on the camera anyway, but my bottom line is turn on your microphone. We want to make this like a communication, like it's like a real-time communication. I think that helped because they can feel their peers is there, they're listening. Yeah.
Good point, nowhere to hide. Okay, thank you so much for your time. I think we're out of time on this call, but it's been great having you all with us. We will be sending an email around to everyone who attended. We will include the presentations if the panelists are happy to share those. The webinar has been recorded and will be available on our website in a few days' time, so we will also share that when that's ready. Thank you all very much, especially those of you joining from China. I know it's very late there and I think you're off for a well-earned cup of tea now, as am I. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. It's been great having you all here. Stay safe, stay strong. We'll talk again soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.